Hello, hello. All right, hope you guys can hear me okay. This is going to be a pretty big live stream. I'm curious how many of you are going to be tuning in. If you are watching this video, this is a posted video. We are covering the oversight of Department of Homeland Security, talking to the leaders of ICE, CBP, and USCIS. It is about to be a showdown, that is for sure, considering the context of events. So right now we are waiting, and every once in a while when we get these types of hearings, we definitely cover it. We have to cover it, considering this is these are the topics we talk about basically every single day. So we have people on the House Oversight Committee who quite literally want to abolish ICE. We have some people on one person on the oversight who has been charged with assaulting Homeland Security officers. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. So if you guys are watching this, make sure to please like the video. It helps out a ton. We are definitely a little earlier than usual. Thank you so much for being here. Love your content. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And again, we are just waiting. I am really curious to see who actually joins the live stream, considering this is way earlier than usual. But if you guys could help me out and make sure to like the stream or interact with it, it helps out a ton. But this is definitely not our normal scheduled program. I still have a live show I want to do after this as far as the actual news, but we are going to be covering this. Good morning, good morning. Good to see you guys. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And let me know if you guys got a notification or not. I am curious how you guys saw this. And we are just waiting. This should be starting here pretty soon. Haven't gotten a notification for the live stream yet. I refreshed my feed and bam, live stream active. Yeah, I keep getting told the amount of people who tell me that they get no notification is pretty bad. It's a lot of people. I might have to contact YouTube and be like, hey guys, like there are, I think like 20 to 30,000 people with their notifications on, and it's almost like nobody gets it. So top of my watch list. Cool. I'm in math class. Well, you might get a little distracted from this live stream. Loco Rican. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. We are waiting. This is being reported by Bill Malusian. He is even pointing out what this might be like today. Expect some fireworks on the Hill today. The chiefs of ICE and CBP will be testifying under oath for the first time during Trump 2.0. Democrats on the House Homeland Security Committee include Representative Swalwell, Daniel Goldman, who recently co-sponsored legislation to strip qualified immunity from ICE agents. So that's one thing. Representative Shri Thandar, who recently introduced a bill to abolish ICE. And LaMonica MacGyver, who is facing federal charges for allegedly assaulting ICE. Yeah. No notification on this end. Yeah, I figured. That's just how it goes. The only way these live streams do well is if you guys interact with it by liking the stream. That's why I always say that, as annoying as it is. When you interact with any video on YouTube, the likelihood of you seeing that video or person again shoots up immensely. Yeah, but don't worry, I will be contacting YouTube. The number one comment I get is I don't get notifications. So yeah, Scotty, first off, I'm going to be transparent with you. I forgot this was happening today. So in today's live scheduled show, the morning show I typically do, Scotty, I had a bunch of stuff on the new revelations that came out. No notification, but when I refresh, they always show you when live. Very cool. Oh, if you are watching here, I can take the tab down. Yep. So you are ready to go as well. And also, we are about like an hour earlier than usual. I think half of America is still sleeping. Might as well make this National Virtue Signaling Day. We'll see. We'll see what happens today. I am definitely expecting some fireworks, unfortunately, considering the timeline of events, what is happening in Minnesota, what has happened in Minnesota, and what is to come. For sure. Scotty is half asleep. Don't worry. As soon as this starts, I'm sure you're going to be wide awake. Now, let us remember there are conservatives on this Homeland Security Board as well. So it is going to be interesting to see what they have to say. But again, whenever I explain who's on this Homeland Security Board, people are like shocked when I talk to my my few friends I have outside of this platform and the screen you're watching. I try to explain to them there are people on the Homeland Security Board, Oversight Board, who have referred to ICE as a terror organization, want to abolish ICE, and one has been charged with assaulting an ICE officer. Very interesting stuff. Now, what's also going to be interesting, I hope they talk about the face masks. I hope they talk about the body cameras. We're probably going to hear about roving patrols. I think Homeland today, or ICE and CBP, I think what they're going to try to do today is explain to the United States that they are not the same organization. If I had to make a prediction, as far as what I think is going to happen, I think ICE is going to keep pointing out, if I were them, I would, you keep referring everybody as ICE. That is not what is happening. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Yep, notification always. See, some people get notifications all the time. Hey, Britt. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. You don't linger or try to milk time for donors. No, and to be honest with you, from a business perspective and YouTuber perspective, very bad business move. But I love you guys too much to do that. There are times where I could sit here in silence for another 45 minutes, but it's like, what's the point, guys? We got things to do. Come on. So I do appreciate all of you guys for being here again. God bless all of you. And yeah, this is not my normal scheduled show. I do have an actual scheduled show. I will probably be doing that later in the day. I don't know how long this is going to be. I assume it's going to be a hot minute, but I do have a bunch of back and forth as far as very recent updates. Are you going to stay with the stream till the end? I am hoping. Yes. I am hoping we can do that. Yeah, the King Doe says, gonna be honest, the Republicans typically either do not push back or lack enough information to push back, which is why, again, I pointed out, I really want to see how Republicans can handle some of the talking points here. And yeah, to be honest with you, it does seem like, this is my personal opinion, the Democrats who are on this board, a few of them, they know all of the intricate details of all of these operations. And I've been saying this since day one. A lot of left-leaning politicians or a lot of the activists, they know a lot of the small details, such as how close they can be during an operation. And obviously, sometimes they go too far. Depending on what jurisdiction we're covering in Chicago, they don't even ask about the warrant. And that is one way you can tell if somebody is knowledgeable in what they're doing and not doing. In Chicago, you virtually never hear, where's the warrant? Where's the warrant? Because the activist groups out there or the trainers say, don't even bother. If they're in public, they don't need it. North Carolina, when that operation went down, every 30 seconds you heard, where's the warrant? And Chief Bovino's like, we're in public. We don't need it. So there are little hints here and there where you can tell that people know what they're talking about, or at least are paying attention to the small print of the operations. I'm not saying they're correct or right. I'm just saying, to your point, I do think Republicans should be getting a lot better at this. Cloud says, maybe notifications depending on whether you're already on YouTube. Possibly. Aaron said, I do get notifications for all your content, but today I haven't. For this stream, at least. Uh-oh, that is odd. Very weird. And I hope everyone is doing well. Again, we are waiting for this very much anticipated stream, considering there are 500 people watching it on Homeland, which is not typical at all, which means people know that this is about to be a big stream. I assume, again, they're going to be talking about Minnesota. Minnesota will probably be getting referenced a lot here. I will be looking out to see whether or not West Virginia gets talked about. West Virginia is a highlight for the Trump administration as far as 0 clashes, 0 American citizens arrested, nobody got hurt, no reports of any wrongdoing. So when you have that one outlier, it would be kind of silly for the Trump or conservatives to not bring that up. But again, that'll go to show whether or not Republicans did their homework. Same, I've gotten notifications before, but not today. All right, well, I will be writing YouTube a letter after this. Maybe it's a settings issue on your end. Maybe. But the way that I know how YouTube works, I think it's because this is not a regular stream that I do every morning, as far as the content of the stream. If I had to make a prediction. Cloud says, I'm already queasy at the thought of the performative outrage we're about to see. Well, I'm letting you know right now, if you guys are on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, these clips are 1,000% going to be circulating today. So you're about to see it first. It seems very quiet as of recent in Minneapolis since Tom took over, says Daniel. Interesting enough, I have a video of a city councilor who thought he found ICE vehicles in front of Town Hall, and it was Tom Homan's vehicles. You don't stream anywhere else? I do not as of right now, but that will be... we are working on something behind the scenes. But yeah, Tom Homan is active. Make sure to please subscribe to my channel or turn on the notifications, because I have that clip for you guys where the city councilor is walking up and down the road. They see ICE vehicles, and it happens to be Tom Homan's vehicles. And then, interesting enough, the city councilor follows up and says, I thought we were not supposed to be working with Tom Homan. Hey, new subscriber here. Love your work. I appreciate it, Devin. Thank you for being here. And good morning to everybody. And to the West Coast Americans, I'm sure you guys are like, what the heck? It is early. If you are watching this on the West Coast, I doubt it, though. I think everyone is sleeping right now. West Coast here. Shout out West Coast. Thank you, Ted. Not something you typically cover, but it sounds like the NFL Bad Bunny selection was an Apple bid to rights to his music. Always follow the money, says Smoke and Guns. Yeah, isn't there an investigation into that or looking into that? I'll be extremely honest with you. I did not watch the Super Bowl. I hardly watched both of those performances, and the aspect I covered it was purely from an analytical level. I think Bad Bunny had more viewers, but I think the TPUSA viewership was extremely impressive. For people who don't know, it is very YouTube and the internet tracks your viewers one-to-one. As far as one person clicks, one view. TV does not. They use a sample size. So We actually knew how many people were quite literally watching TPUSA. We did not know the actual 1-to-1 ratio for the Super Bowl. We always just say 120 million Americans are watching the Super Bowl. But I guarantee by a show of hands right now, whenever the halftime show comes on, how many of you guys leave the screen to go use the bathroom or go eat food? Type in number 1 in the chat. It could be anybody. And how many of us just will leave at one point or at least just walk away and do something else? So that's why I think those stats, they're not really comparable. But for anybody who made fun of the TPUSA one, I don't think advertisers are looking the other way. I think it's a very lucrative opportunity for advertisers. Good morning, Valerie. Tiberia says, I didn't watch either of them or the game. Yeah. All right. This might be the most amount of people I've seen watching a Homeland Security Oversight Committee live stream. To be honest with you. But yeah, I can definitely tell YouTube probably did not send you guys a lot of this notification, considering by now we would have had like 2,000 to 3,000 live viewers. But that's okay. We're gonna truck along forward. And just so you guys know, we actually do have an actual scheduled show. It'll probably be later in the day, depending on how long this is, because we do have actual clips and a show that's been put together for you guys. I just forgot that this was happening, and so this obviously is gonna be a little more serious, considering these clips are probably going to be going viral depending on what is said and not said, which is why I think so many people are going to be paying attention. Yeah, don't worry, I'll be sending all these screenshots to YouTube after the show. So here we go. It scared me. That was not
Committee on Homeland Security will come to order. Without objection, the chair may declare the committee in recess at any point. The purpose of today's hearing is to conduct oversight of the Department of Homeland Security and assess priorities for U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services for the calendar year 2026.
All right, hold on.
Before we get started, I'd like to remind the members and the public of the rules of decorum. These issues we are debating are important ones that members feel deeply about. While vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum in debate. It is a violation of House rules and the rules of this committee to engage in personalities regarding other members or to question the motives of a colleague. It is also a clear violation of the rules of the House to make statements that might personally be offensive to the President or the Vice President of the United States. Remarks of that type are not permitted by the rules and are not in keeping with the best traditions of our committee.
I didn't know those were the rules, but I think those might get broken.
All times, and urges all members to be mindful of their remarks. Further, under the rules of the House, the chairman is responsible for maintaining order and preserving decorum in the committee room. I expect audience members to be respectful of the witnesses, members, and the public. If members of the audience are persistently or overly disruptive, it is a violation of federal law and you'll be subject to removal and arrest. I now recognize myself for an opening statement. I want to start by thanking our witnesses for appearing before the committee today. Today's hearing provides the American people the ability to hear directly from the leaders that enforce our nation's immigration laws. It is our imperative as representatives of the people to be a voice for the people. Transparency, communication, and accountability are keys to good government. This is why oversight is important. Informing Congress and the public is not casting accusations, nor is it a punishment. Congress has a duty to hear directly from the executive branch, a duty I take seriously. And the executive branch has a duty to keep us informed. While this hearing was long planned, we sit here today at an inflection point, an opportunity to assess and reinforce the integrity of immigration enforcement and to strengthen public trust. An opportunity to emphasize and underscore the Department of Homeland Security's no-fail mission as a whole. My top priority as chairman is, and will always be, protecting America while ensuring the safety of law enforcement. This is further important in the context of another potential shutdown of the department. Let me be clear, shutting down DHS makes America less safe,
And we vote on that on Friday.
Federal employees.
I'm not going to keep cutting this off, but just so you know, this is huge because on Friday we figure out whether or not we will have Homeland Security funding, but ICE will be funded.
This committee's duty, regardless of administration, to conduct oversight. We need to examine how DHS components are enforcing the law and ensure they have the resources in place to do work safely, effectively, and properly. Last year, we provided historic resources through reconciliation to strengthen public safety and support for the Trump administration's unprecedented efforts to secure the border. This was the single largest investment in the domestic Homeland Security mission. To succeed, we all need to work together seamlessly, and this committee is a partner in that effort. It is important to remember how we got here. For years, we witnessed a blanket refusal to enforce the law, wide open borders, catch and release policies, and uncontrolled mass migration. These policies undermined the rule of law and endangered all Americans. Enforcing immigration law is not optional. The Trump administration's record on border security is irrefutable. Nationwide border encounters last December decreased 91% compared to 2023. Apprehensions between ports of entry last December decreased 86% compared to 2024. And we ended last year with 8 consecutive months of 0 parole releases by Border Patrol. Further, thousands of criminal illegal aliens have been detained and deported. These actions make America safer and more secure. But the credibility of these successes is on the line. We must take the temperature down and look at the record of enforcement actions through rational eyes. We've seen a significant increase in violent rhetoric and agitation. We've seen a significant increase in attacks on federal law enforcement and in the number of threats facing them and their families.
Highest ever, by the way.
This committee highlighted the threat increases to law enforcement at an earlier hearing. We have seen state and local jurisdictions refuse to protect federal law enforcement officers. And obviously, we have now seen the deaths of 2 American citizens in Minnesota. This is all unacceptable and preventable. The safety of law enforcement and the communities they serve and protect must always come first. When officials or elected leaders rush to conclusions about law enforcement or their fellow Americans, public trust suffers.
That happened in Portland.
There must be complete and impartial investigation. I expect each of our witnesses to keep this committee fully informed as the investigations run their course, and I will ensure this happens. While these investigations are ongoing, officials and elected leaders cannot rush to judgment. I cannot put myself in the shoes of law enforcement, nor can I imagine what the families of Ms. Good and Mr. Preddy are enduring today. Public trust and public safety go hand in hand. We cannot have one without the other. I am encouraged to see that President Trump sent Border Czar Tom Homan and Commissioner Scott to Minnesota to work with Governor Walz, Mayor Frey, and other local leaders. I sincerely hope this dialogue continues. This should stand as an example of cooperation to anyone who continues to incentivize reckless behavior in our streets, unlawfully impede law enforcement operations, or disparage their fellow citizens. State and local officials should be partners, not obstacles when it comes to public safety. And federal officials should keep in mind that this kind of partnership is a two-way street. Everyone should have the same goal of keeping America safe. Transparency and communication are needed now more than ever. The department's no-fail mission hangs in the balance. A rule-based order is not one-sided. Enforcing immigration law and defending all Americans' constitutional rights, including the rights to peacefully protest, bear arms, and privacy, are not mutually exclusive. I want to thank Secretary Noem for making these witnesses rapidly available, and again, thank the 3 of you for being here today. As Border Czar Homan recently said, you can't fix problems if you don't have discussions.
Yep.
I hope we can have a positive, civil, and productive discussion today. Only together can we make our community stronger and the homeland safer for future of all.
Someone said the captions also lie. I shut off the captions, so here we go.
For Mississippi.
Those are the standards. Here we go.
Statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning to all of you who are here. Thank you for calling this hearing today. This important hearing has drawn a great deal of interest and attention, and many of my colleagues who represent the border city of El Paso and who have been leader on border security, Veronica Escobar, has joined us today and would like to ask questions of our witnesses. So, Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent that the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Escobar, be permitted to sit with the committee and question today's witnesses as we have afforded that to other individuals in past hearings.
Well, I thank the gentlewoman for their interest in today's important hearing. As I previously informed both the majority and minority, committee will not be entertaining off-committee member requests. Therefore, I object.
Whoa.
Well, your objection is noted, Mr. Chairman, but I would, for the record, want to say that it's highly unusual that a member of Congress sitting with as much impact on immigration as her area is not afforded that courtesy. But you're the chairman, and that's your prerogative, as if it would be anyone else's.
Okay. What?
As the ranking member knows, we had many requests. This is a very important hearing. It is my duty to keep the wheels on this hearing and get actual answers on the record. I thank the gentlelady's interest. We had a lot of members who were interested in being here today, which is why we thought it would be best just to keep it for members of the committee. These gentlemen have repeatedly testified before many committees at the Capitol, and I'm sure other members will get the opportunity to do the same questioning. This is the Committee on Homeland Security. We had previously said we would not waive on members specifically for this hearing, and we're going to stick by that rule today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. May I say to Ms. Escobar, if there are questions you would like to have asked of these witnesses, if you will provide those questions to me or any other member of the committee, we'll be more than happy to transmit them. Thank you so much.
Okay, that was already off the bat. It's getting weird in there. Here we go.
I hope my Republican colleagues will remember that our job is to conduct oversight, not cover for Donald Trump and his out-of-control administration, which is running roughshod over Americans' rights, killing U.S. citizens and threatening our very democracy. The disease rotting the Trump administration from the inside out started at the top and has infected every part of the executive branch. Nowhere is that more evident than at the Department of Homeland Security. This hearing is just the start of a reckoning for the Trump administration and its weaponization of DHS against American citizens and the principle our country stands for. DHS, led by Secretary Kristi Noem, must be held accountable for its lawlessness immigration operation. Whoa. They are reckless, creating chaos in our communities, terrorizing adults and children alike, and undermining our moral authority as a nation of liberty and rule of law. Last month, an ICE agent shot and killed Renee Good, a Minneapolis mom, in cold blood as she drove away from him. After killing her, the agent called her a disgusting name I won't repeat here. Other agents refused to allow a nearby physician to treat her. Democrats called for accountability. Instead, Secretary Noem blamed the victim, Ms. Good, and attempted to gaslight Americans with false claims that Ms. Good was a domestic terrorist. Renee Good was nothing of the sort. She was a mom, a wife, a neighbor, and an American citizen who did not deserve to die at the hands of her own government. She should be alive today. Ever since, the Trump administration has devoted the full resources of the federal government to blocking a legitimate investigation into Ms. Good's killing. If that isn't a sign of guilt, I don't know what is. Federal prosecutors had a warrant to collect evidence from Ms. Good's vehicle for a civil rights investigation into ICE's use of force, but FBI Director Kash Patel and other Trump administration officials demanded they drop it. Career prosecutors, duly bound to the rule of law, not the political prerogatives of the White House, resigned in protest. Blocking an investigation into the government's use of force against one of its own citizens is a self-dictatorship, not democracies. Every American should be outraged. Democrats tried to get answers in the aftermath of Ms. Good's shooting. We called on Acting Director Todd Lyons to testify at the committee's hearing 3 weeks ago. Unfortunately, he turned down the committee's invitation. This is part of a pattern of the Trump administration's refusal to comply with regular congressional oversight. Committee Democrats have sent multiple letters to ICE and CBP on critical issues, but most of them, 10, have gone unanswered. Mr. Chairman, I ask unanimous consent to include all 10 of these records into the record, letters into the record.
The 10 demands, I think.
ICE has blocked members of Congress from visiting its detention facilities, even after reports of horrific conditions, detainee abuse, and a detainee being murdered in a DHS facility. I was one of those individuals who parted to a lawsuit to try to get ICE to just follow the law that says members of Congress can visit ICE facilities and present themselves at any time. So I understand that it's still being litigated, but I've been given authority to go, and I plan to do it this week just to test ICE's adherence to the law. Mr. Lyons is here today, nearly a month after we invited him. I guess DHS needed time to get his story straight before he came to testify under oath. Fearing more violence from federal law enforcement, Democrats have also called on DHS to rein in immigration agents and their brutal attacks on Americans immediately following Ms. Good's murder.
Whoa.
But DHS ignored our pleas. Instead, Greg Vino, who styled himself in Nazi attire and takes joy in deploying tear gas at Americans, continued to roam around Minneapolis with his masked gang, terrorizing people and violating their constitutional rights. And tragically, our worst fears were realized.
They brought Bovino
Just days
into
after
this.
the hearing, Mr. Lyons refused to participate in. CBP personnel shot Alex Preety, and he was face down on Minneapolis' sidewalk, killing him in broad daylight. In the video of the incident, a DHS agent can be seen cheering Mr. Preety's death. Americans watched the video in horror. Yet once again, Secretary Nome gaslit the public, made up a demonstrably false story about Mr. Preety and blamed the victim for his own death. Mr. Preety was a law-abiding U.S. citizen and a VA nurse who dedicated his career to caring for our veterans. Mr. Chairman, at our last month hearing, I asked for a moment of silence in the memory of Renee Good. Today, with great sadness about another American killed at the hands of DHS, I asked that the committee observe a moment of silence in honor of Alex Preety.
Was that the not correct photo?
Thank you. The slaying of Ms. Good and Mr. Preety by DHS are the most tragic examples of what is wrong with Trump's DHS, but far from the only ones. Last fall, a Border Patrol agent shot Miramar Martinez, a U.S. citizen, and preschool teacher from Chicago.
That's going to go
5
viral.
times. The agent bragged in text messages
Wow.
about shooting her, saying, quote, "I fired 5 rounds and she had 7 holes."
Wow.
But that in your book, boys. Again, the Trump administration tried to blame Ms. Martinez, the victim, but prosecutors dropped charges against her when it became apparent that the evidence contradicted the Border Patrol's phony account. Unlike Ms. Good's and Mr. Preety's, we can no longer tell their stories. Ms. Martinez has shared her story about what Trump's DHS did to her. I want to play a bit of the video here because people need to see what ICE and CBP are doing to Americans.
And thank you to Farrell Cody for the $5 donation. Thank you for your generosity.
This is the first one I realized. I was like, oh, it's just a pepper pellet, but no. And then I got shot right here. And then I have a wound on the side of my chest right here. And then I got 2 holes in my thigh. And then right here.
Wow.
Right here.
Wow. You're covered in wounds.
Wounds, yeah. And I want people to see like what's going on, like the type of stuff they're doing.
And again, make sure you guys are liking this stream because a lot of you did not get a notification, so make sure to like it so the other T-SPLY subscribers can see what's going on. It helps out a ton.
Is a scourge on this country and shameful chapter in our nation's history, but tragically, there's more. DHS agents recently used a 5-year-old Ecuadorian boy, Lehman Ramos, as bait to lure his family members outside their home to arrest them. The family had entered the country legally as asylum seekers and were living in Minnesota while awaiting their immigration proceedings. DHS sent the little boy and his father to detention in Texas for over a week. Thankfully, a judge ordered him released, slamming DHS for its, and I quote, incompetently implemented deportation campaign. Incompetently implemented deportation campaign is putting it nicely, especially as it relates to small children. More apt in the Bible, quote from John 11, chapter 35th, referenced at the end of the judge's opinion, Jesus wept. DHS personnel are now forcing their way into private homes without a judicial warrant in violation of the Fourth Amendment. In one recent incident, ICE dragged a U.S. citizen from his home at gunpoint in underwear before realizing they had picked up the wrong person. The person ICE was actually looking for was sitting in jail in Minnesota. The Minnesota Department of Corrections says that ICE had this information all along. Bystander videos from Minneapolis and cities around the country show ICE and CBP personnel behaving like unprofessional goons, cursing at bystanders and mooning people from their hotel rooms. News reports have a Border Patrol agent was found passed out, drunk, and covered in vomit in a vehicle. And ICE personnel apparently stole a child's phone and sold it for cash.
What is happening?
It's an embarrassment, and DHS's so-called leadership should be ashamed, if only they had any shame. Secretary's Nome Department of Homeland Security has the blood of American citizens on its hands, but she takes no responsibility for anything. To the contrary, Secretary Nome was last seen in this committee room hiding behind her family in a desperate attempt to distract from her department's failures and abuses. Then she ran from our questions, leaving early under the guise of needing to attend a meeting that it turns out didn't even exist. Her inexcusable behavior should come as no surprise. She's always been more concerned with photo ops and wardrobe changes than following the law and fulfilling the mission of her department. Since being sworn in, Secretary Nome has enriched herself, abused the power of her office, obstructed congressional oversight, and violated her oath to the Constitution. Donald Trump and Kristi Noem are doing real damage to this country and to the department that was stood up 25 years ago in the wake of 9/11 to protect American citizens from future attacks. Secretary Noem is a liar with no concern for the lives of Americans killed by the department she runs. She must go. Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
All right, so that was
Gentleman yields back.
that was not the direction I thought he would go in. I'm gonna try to fact check some of the photos and all that.
Formally introduce our witnesses.
Yeah.
First is Mr. Rodney Scott.
So you guys
Scott
know
is-
who the witnesses are. You guys can let me know what you think about that. I think as far as filibustering, as you guys are saying, I really think they're trying just to get through this hearing and not have too much back and forth. Just let them speak and then just get through it from a conservative standpoint, I would assume. But this is all going to go super viral on X. I can 1,000% guarantee it. So I don't think these
Since July 2025.
members of Congress feel like they have to even say anything.
Mr. Lyons is the Acting Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Acting Director.
And again, I apologize for those of you who did not get a notification. We have an actual scheduled show after this, so it's going to be later in the day. So turn on your notifications. Make sure to like or subscribe, and don't worry, I have a show for you guys. We have a lot of clips.
Pursuant to Committee Rule 8C, I ask that the witnesses please rise and raise. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will give before the Committee on Homeland Security of the United States House of Representatives will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Let the record reflect that the witnesses have answered in the affirmative. Thank you, and please be seated. I now recognize Commissioner Scott for 5 minutes to summarize his opening statement.
Chairman Garbarino, Ranking Member Thompson, members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear here before you today. I'm honored to represent more than 67,000 dedicated men and women of U.S. Customs and Border Protection who are tirelessly protecting this great nation every single day by simply trying to make sure we know who and what is entering our homeland. Border security is national security. Law enforcement personnel that selflessly provide this service to America increasingly perform under difficult conditions and intense public and political scrutiny. But these brave men and women deserve our gratitude and thanks. It's my privilege to be here today joining my colleagues from Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Citizenship and Immigration Services. Our agencies work in partnership to secure the homeland and uphold the integrity of our immigration system. CBP has spent the last year rebuilding what was an intentionally broken border. As I informed Congress in 2021 and again in 2023, the open border policies of the Biden administration all but eliminated any meaningful border along this, and it replaced it with a porous geographic line defined by record-high encounters with illegal aliens, overwhelmed facilities, and a workforce that was stretched so far beyond their capabilities that hostile nations and the cartels exploited our border at will. That all changed on January 20th, 2025, under the leadership of President Trump. We have now implemented effective policies, established unified priorities and objectives across all federal departments, and empowered our workforce to do their jobs by simply enforcing the laws that already exist. We have imposed consequences for those who break our laws, the laws that this body enacted. And today, the United States, because of these efforts, enjoys the most secure border in our nation's history. But this progress did not happen by accident. It's a result of a comprehensive approach to border security. We ended catch and release, we prioritized detention and removal authorities, and we sent a clear message that illegal entry into the United States will not be tolerated. And the numbers speak for themselves. We have achieved record low illegal crossings between ports of entry. Border Patrol apprehensions along the southwest border totaled over 90,000 for the entire year. That's a number that used to represent a single month under the Biden administration. Daily encounters have dropped by 95%, averaging about 250 per day, compared to 5,000 a day during the Biden administration. Our increased enforcement also resulted in the seizure of over 617,000 pounds of illicit narcotics. That's nationwide, an 8% increase over the prior year. This included nearly 11,000 pounds of fentanyl and more than 186,000 pounds of methamphetamines. This is what having a secure border looks like. None of this would have been possible, though, without the vision and leadership of President Trump and the historic investments made in border security. The One Big Beautiful Bill, a $65 billion investment, is enabling CBP to modernize border infrastructure, deploy additional advanced technology, and to grow our workforce. Since January 2025, CBP is building smart wall at record levels. We're installing high-tech attributes where the Biden administration had shut it off. We're installing water barriers along the Rio Grande River, which denies criminals access to these routes. But that is not all. We're investing in technology at our ports of entry, non-intrusive inspection equipment, biometrics, and advanced surveillance to improve our ability to know what's coming into this country, the land, air, and sea, at and between the ports of entry.
Speaking of biometrics, that is becoming a lot more topical right now as far as Homeland Security using AI or facial recognition to see who you are or verify who you are, whether illegal immigrant or American citizen. I recently did a video about that yesterday.
Due to the
And I would be shocked if that doesn't get brought up. But I see what a lot of you guys are saying as far as the first speaker. Those were not the talking points I thought he was going to make. I thought he was going to make more broader talking points that would align with what some Democrats want for the list of demands that are being voted for on Friday.
Our officers and agents are increasingly facing an unprecedented level of aggressive interference and intimidation when executing the laws that you have asked them to enforce. These attacks on federal law enforcement personnel are coordinated and well-funded. This is not peaceful protest. No law enforcement officer should be put at personal risk simply for doing the job that we have asked them to do. I thank you for your continued support of CBP's mission, and I look forward to answering your questions today.
Thank you, Commissioner. I now recognize Director Edlow for 5 minutes to summarize his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Garbarino, Ranking Member Thompson, and members of the committee. It is an honor to speak to you about the priorities and progress of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services.
Thank you, Megan, for becoming a member, and thank you guys for all your support. I appreciate it.
To uphold the rule of law, protect our citizens, and safeguard our homeland. Let me begin by expressing my appreciation to President Trump for his trust in me and to Secretary Noem for her leadership at the Department of Homeland Security. I'm proud to serve alongside a workforce that's deeply committed to advancing the President's agenda, protecting our communities, and restoring integrity to America's legal immigration system. As Director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, my vision has been straightforward and clear. Restore accountability to our immigration system and ensure that it serves the interests of the American people first and foremost. Today, I want to highlight some of our most significant accomplishments: ending the exploitation of immigration programs, putting American workers first, protecting our communities from public safety threats, protecting national security, and combating immigration fraud. Fraud isn't just a paperwork issue. It's a national security and public safety concern. Often those who wish to do us harm exploit weaknesses in our system. Over the past year, USCIS has made nearly 33,000 fraud referrals to law enforcement, a 138% increase over previous years. We conducted thousands of site visits to homes and workplaces and thousands of social media checks to ensure aliens aren't espousing anti-American sentiment. Moreover, our fraud detection and national security team completed over 21,000 investigations, identifying fraud in approximately 65% of those cases. In Operation Twin Shield in Minneapolis-St. Paul back in the fall, we uncovered marriage fraud, visa misuse, and student visa abuses, leading to denials of immigration benefits, arrests, and removal proceedings. This work led to Operation Paris, where we continue re-examining thousands of refugee cases in Minnesota, conducting thorough background checks and in-person reviews. We've also strengthened our vetting policies. If someone falsely claims U.S. citizenship to get a public benefit or try to vote, we hold them accountable through denial of citizenship or loss of immigration status. We've tightened screening to determine whether claimed marriage is in relation.
Yeah, it should be noted, the reason why this is also very interesting, when you look at the data and the statistics, the videos and the clashes you would assume is like widespread throughout the United States, but these are heavily isolated instances. That doesn't mean we should undermine it or not pay attention or look into it, because obviously, I mean, we're still talking about major cities or states. But when we look at the clashes and the issues that a lot of the Democrats will be bringing up, and the first speaker, these are isolated, as one of you mentioned in the comments. This is not like super widespread throughout the United States. So keep that in mind as far as context as well.
Temporary protection, not permanent status in the United States. Moreover, this administration is doing more to ensure the integrity of our elections. We enhanced the SAVE program so states can verify citizenship of those on their voter rolls more effectively. Since January 2025, we've processed over 58 million queries, and 27 states are participating. Additionally, federal agencies ran nearly 206 million SAVE queries last year to identify fraud and preserve public assistance benefits for lawful U.S. residents and citizens. We're also putting American taxpayers and communities and workers first. We affirmed that aliens should be self-reliant, not dependent on public assistance, and that their sponsors are liable for the cost of public benefits that they access. The Department of Homeland Security is also working to rescind the 2022 public charge rule, restoring our discretion to determine if an alien...
It should be noted that there are some Republicans who also have talked about illegal immigrants not having jobs also affecting American citizens. The lieutenant governor in Louisiana said he doesn't have a problem with the deportations. His problem is he thinks the deportations are causing American citizens to not have issues. So keep in mind, every once in a while you actually do find some conservatives, Republicans. There's one out of New York who's trying to pass a law to have amnesty for a lot of illegal immigrants. There are some Republicans and conservatives who side with Democrats on some of these issues.
Deficit reduction.
I don't think that's going to happen here, but
Part of everything we do. After the attack on 2 brave service members of the National Guard last November, Secretary Noem directed us to review immigration benefits for aliens from high-risk countries. In closing, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services is restoring integrity, accountability, and security to America's legal immigration system. These accomplishments reflect the dedication of our workforce and the transformative leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, both of whom have allowed USCIS to do the job it was created by Congress to do. We stand ready to continue working with Congress to protect the homeland and uphold the rule of law. Thank you, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Director Udlow. I now recognize Acting Director Lyons for 5 minutes to summarize his opening statement.
Good morning. Chairman Garbarino, Ranking Member Thompson, distinguished members of the committee, thank you for the invitation to discuss the critical work U.S. Immigration and Customs is doing.
not to cut off Todd Lyons, but we do have some breaking news. I mean, the timing of all of this is always rather interesting to me, and this is why when you join these live shows, you know we get breaking news. As we are watching this, Kristi Noem just posted a statement and a picture saying, just signed the last contract for the purchase of steel for the wall. Build, baby, build. We have been pointing out on my channel that whenever there seems to be a oversight committee, a live stream, or a live stream with like opposing political factions, if you will, the Trump administration has been responding with their own messaging, it seems like. So that has been confirmed as of right now.
Those partnerships have increased more than 900% since President Trump took office, and our communities are safer for it. I am also proud of our agency's unprecedented hiring campaign that led to hiring of more than 12,000 officers and special agents in less than a year, and more than 222,000 individuals submitted applications. This expansion of a well-trained and well-vetted workforce will help further ICE's abilities to execute President's and Secretary's bold agenda. Before discussing our broader operations, I must address the situation in Minnesota and the dangers that ICE agents and officers face nationwide. While the investigations remain ongoing, I'm encouraged that some Minnesota officials are finally signaling the willingness to cooperate with ICE. But let me be clear, promises are not enough. We need action. In the wake of the unprecedented border crisis of the previous administration, ICE has stepped into the breach to enforce the law. This commitment has a cost. We are facing the deadliest operating environment in our agency's history. In fiscal year 2025, death threats against ICE personnel increased more than 8,000%. Assaults on officers have skyrocketed over 1,400%. One officer in Minnesota had his finger bitten off by a protester, egged on by elected officials characterizing our offices as Gestapo or secret police.
Yep, that was 2 weeks ago.
The families of ICE personnel have been made to feel unsafe in their homes. I know this firsthand because my own family was targeted. But let me send a message to anyone who thinks they can intimidate us. You will fail. Despite these perils, our officers continue to execute their mission with unwavering resolve, and we are only getting started. ICE remains committed to the fundamental principles that those who illegally enter our country must be held accountable. Since the beginning of the second Trump administration, we have achieved historic results. From January 20th, 2025 through January 20th, 2026, ICE has conducted nearly 379,000 arrests. Among those arrests were more than 7,000 suspected gang members and over 1,400 known as suspected terrorists.
Wow.
The president tasked us with mass deportation, and we are fulfilling that mandate. Thanks to the resources provided by this Congress, we are ramping up detention capabilities and removal flights daily. In the last year alone, we conducted over 475,000 removals. It's a brutal reality that criminal immigration today is organized by sophisticated, ruthless, transnational criminal organizations. These include cartels and transnational gangs President Trump has rightly designated as foreign terrorist organizations. The only way to defeat them is to destroy their revenue. Within Homeland Security investigations, our special agents are delivering critical outcomes in the fight against transnational crime. We are seizing fentanyl before it kills our children and dismantling the networks that poison our communities. In FY25 alone, we seized more than 2.5 million pounds of narcotics, a 50% increase from the previous year and a critical blow to transnational organization groups everywhere. HSI criminal arrests are at the highest point in history. However, our approach is just not about enforcement. It is about restoring order and dignity to the human beings sold alive by smugglers and exploited by these TCOs. In August 2024, the DHS Office of Inspector General released a report that concluded that more than 291,000 unaccompanied alien children out of nearly 450,000 transferred from DHS to HHS custody were simply lost by the system. We are talking about children exploited in factories, abused in sexual trades, and living as indentured servants on American soil.
That's crazy.
HSI is leading the charge to find them. We have conducted more than 71,000 field engagements to locate children, verify sponsor legitimacy, and uncover criminal activity related to exploitation. Since February 2025, ICE has arrested more than 500 criminal sponsors of these offenses, including sexual exploitation and forced labor, dismantled more than 2,400 human smuggling operations, and along with our federal partners, located more than 145,000 children. To further ensure TCOs can never threaten our nation again, President Trump dedicated the establishment of the Homeland Security Task Force. The Homeland Security Task Forces represent the most aggressive and coordinated attack on TCOs in history. Through Cross-Border Financial Crime Center, we have developed and implemented a strategy to combat rampant fraud, including government programs in Minnesota and across the country. Using this strategy, HSI has opened numerous criminal investigations into the complex fraud systems that have resulted in the thefts of billions. Much of the fight ICE faces continue to be fueled by so-called sanctuary cities.
Someone's phone.
These jurisdictions provided a shield for criminal aliens when a local jail refuses to honor ICE detainer and releases that predator back into the community.
That was not my phone.
ICE exists to enforce America's longstanding immigration and custom laws. These laws are grounded in common sense, national sovereignty, and simple morality. Our officers and agents enforce these without hesitation, without apology. I ask that all the members of the committee treat them with profound respect that they have earned. Thank you.
All right, here we go,
Thank you,
guys.
Acting Director Lyons. Members will be recognized by order of seniority for their 5 minutes of questioning. As we have when Secretary Noem was here, we're going to limit it to the 5-minute rule. I'm going to be strict on that for both sides. So do not be surprised if you go over, I gavel you down. I now recognize myself for 5 minutes of questions. Acting Director Lyons, I understand that you cannot discuss the details of the 2 recent shootings in Minnesota because they are subject of several investigations, including by the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, and the DOJ Civil Rights Division. Once concluded, will you commit to providing the reports and findings of each investigation to this committee?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we're fully committed to give you the full and unabridged investigation and the outcome.
Thank you. Commissioner Scott, can the committee have the same commitment from you?
Yes, sir.
Thank you both. Commissioner Scott and Acting Director Lyons, following this hearing in writing, I'd like to know what is the standard operating procedure for each of your agencies for an investigation when deadly force is used. Currently, Acting Director Lyons, are those procedures being followed for the 2 uses of deadly force in Minneapolis this past January?
This is a good question.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Were those, and Commissioner Scott?
Yes, sir, they are.
Were the standard procedures followed from the beginning? Mr. Lyons?
Yes, sir, they were.
Mr. Scott?
Yes, for CBP, they were as well.
Thank you very much. We're obviously concerned about officer safety and have seen and heard about increasing threats and assaults against law enforcement. Director Lyons, are your officers trained regarding the difference between a protected protest and what is unlawfully impeding law enforcement?
Yes, sir. Deportation officers and special agents are taught at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. They are taught in defensive tactics, personal safety, but as well as laws to include First, Second, Fourth, Fifth, 10th, 14th Amendment. The officers are trained before they go out into the field, and then while they're in the field. They are specialized training in disturbance control and other special tactics.
Remember,
Commissioner Scott, are your officers similarly
the
trained?
big accusation is ICE has no training. They're some of the worst trained officers ever. And the other big accusation was that Homeland, they're trying to cover up the investigation. So as you guys can see, a lot of these questions are almost implying or defending or inquiring the big talking points right now.
With the historic investment in both ICE and CBP, there was a surge in hiring. I need to know, for these new hires, is the training different than what other agents and officers received before the hiring surge? Mr. Lyons, I'll let you start there.
No, sir, it's not. The training was never, the meat of the training was never removed. The timeline was. We took training from 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, to 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. In addition to that,
I have to report this. We have breaking news. The AI photo that was used at the beginning of the hearing has been posted all over the internet. I told you guys this was going to happen. Literally, it's being blasted everywhere right now.
much like a city or state field training officer program, that once they are removed from the Federal Law Enforcement Training Academy, have graduated, before they return to their field offices, they're assigned a field training officer, and that's continued on after that.
So let me get this. For ICE officers, the curriculum has stayed the same, but it's now a quicker training. The timeline has moved up?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, but the curriculum is the same.
Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioner Scott, can you talk about if there's been a change in training since the hiring surge?
There's been no change in the training within Customs and Border Protection. Border Patrol agents go through a 117-day academy. The CBP officers go through a 103-day academy. That's actually training days. There's been no changes to that.
So
the only change that has been made is in our quarterly training. We've added scenarios based on what we most likely think they will encounter in the field. So we've actually added some of the protest type encounters as well.
So there's been no change in the timeline either. Similar, ICE did that. You did not.
No, we did not.
Okay. And while this is nothing, this is my last question, I'm sure. While understanding they are not suitable for every occasion, there's been a lot of talk about the use of deadly force. Are agents and officers equipped with and trained in the use of tasers or other less lethal alternatives to avoid the use of deadly force? And Mr. Director Lyons, I'll start with you, and then Mr. Scott, you can finish.
Yes, sir. Every deportation officer special agent are trained in secondary weapons, which include the taser, OC spray, and baton.
They're trained.
And those are made available.
And they're equipped.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Scott?
It's a similar answer that all of our agents have to carry a secondary weapon. They trained at the academy, and then they go through quarterly refresher training every 3 months.
Okay, I appreciate it. I will have, I'm sure, for some follow-up questions today, and I will submit those to you in writing. But with that, I yield back, and I now recognize the ranking member for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lyons, how many ICE agents have cameras as of today?
Sir, as of today, more than 3,000 ICE officers have cameras that are active in the field, with another 6,000 being deployed, sir.
So how many in the field? How many ICE agents are in the field as of today?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Agents in the field today?
You said agents in the field. I'm just trying to get the number of ICE agents who have cameras on their body as of today.
Approximately 3,000, sir.
3,000 out of how many?
Out of approximately 13,000, sir, that are in the field.
So you have 3,000 out of 13,000 who have cameras.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Scott?
I don't have the actual number in front of me right now. It's about 10,000. We're building that program out as we speak.
10,000 out of how many?
Out of about 67,000. But the catch there is the ports of entry. We have significant video.
Nope. I don't want to go to ports of entry. I just want to know how many cameras right now do you have on your agents?
When you say agents, Border Patrol agents, there's about 10,000.
10,000
That's an estimate,
out, 10,000 out of how many?
Out of 20,000 Border Patrol agents.
So half of them.
Approximately, yes.
So I'll give you a chance to look at that, since you said approximately, and get back to the committee on what's the accurate number. Not how many you're purchasing, how many as of this day.
Understood, and I will get you that number.
Thank you. Mr. Lyons, what's the regular timetable of training an ICE agent?
Sorry about that, sir. Right now, the training is approximately 47 days at the Federal Law Enforcement Academy. Overall training is about 3 months, sir.
So you went from 3 months to 47 days.
No, sir, the whole total training to include the pre-employment training and then the OJT program is 3 months. And 47 days in the Federal Law Enforcement Training Academy.
So they go to Flexi for 47 days or for 3 months?
No, sir, you asked for the total training time. The total training time now is a combined 3 months, sir, with 47 days at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Academy.
So you didn't reduce the timeline for any of the ICE agents to come on board?
We reduced the timeline for the previous certified federal law enforcement officers or special agents, where we went to the ones who are already trained in firearms and defensive tactics and criminal procedure. We adapted to a shorter program so they would just have the extensive Immigration Nationality Act training, immigration law, and ICE-specific training.
So if you hired somebody for ICE today, how much training would they receive before they become a full-time agent?
So for a person off the street who has never been a law enforcement officer, they're looking at approximately 3 months of training, sir.
And the 47 days is for who?
That is for everyone that hasn't, who's never worked for ICE, sir. So you could have someone that's a Capitol Police officer. They would not have to go through extended training for when it comes to defensive tactics, firearms, et cetera. They would have to go through the rigorous immigration training, which unfortunately immigration law is just as confusing and long as tax code, which we have to ensure that we devote that extensive time to.
Thank you so much. But
Yes, sir.
would you provide the committee with the timeline?
Yes, sir. We will provide you.
Some of us understand it's 47 days.
Yes, sir. We will
But
provide
you're
you
telling us it's 3 months.
from the beginning, sir, when they go ahead and come on pre-employment training to the
Thank you.
OJT program afterwards. But we will provide the committee with the full
Okay.
each breakdown.
For Mr. Lyons and Mr. Scott, over the past several weeks, the president has made a series of comments regarding the midterm election. The president has urged my Republican colleagues in Congress to nationalize elections. Now, are you involved in any planning on guarding precincts in this country as of today? Mr. Scott?
No, sir.
Mr. Lyons?
No, sir.
So there's no information, you've not been asked to start deploying people for areas anywhere?
No, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Lyons, I'll get it in writing, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to follow your directions on that.
Gentleman yields back. Thank you, Ranking Member. I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. McCall, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A decade ago when I chaired this committee, Mr. Thompson and I passed a bill to authorize ICE into law. It was a bipartisan effort. It passed the House overwhelmingly, both Republican and Democrat. A decade later, here we are. The Dems have called to abolish ICE. Now they're trying to shut it down. So what has happened?
To include some members on the board who supported Homeland. I mean, there are members on this board right now that want to abolish ICE, by the way. And thank you so much, TJ, for the generous $5 donation. Thank you so much.
As someone who lives in the border state of Texas, we saw the most dangerous, wide open border that I've seen in my 22 years in Congress. 10 to 12 million people, and that's what we know about. I think it's far greater, came into this country many of them dangerous, violent criminals, some known or suspected terrorists, which I find extremely dangerous. That's why I served as an impeachment manager for Mayorkas, because he violated federal law. The federal statute says, as a former federal prosecutor, I know this, shall detain aggravated felons. What did Mayorkas do? He told his agents, that's discretionary. You can release them. As a result, we had tens of thousands of aggravated felons left on the streets of America to roam freely. Not to mention the human and sex trafficking of children, Mr. Lyons, as you pointed out. So what is the administration trying to do? They're trying to remove a public safety threat from the United States of America. That is their job. Restoring public safety should be the number one priority. And one of the problems here, as I examine it, is that Minnesota, Minneapolis in particular, is a sanctuary city. What does that mean? That means that it's a magnet for illegal. They're protected under the current situation because state and locals will not cooperate with federal law enforcement. In fact, Mr. Lyons, is it not true that they were not honoring ICE detainers that were put on dangerous felons in prison so that you could remove them from the United States?
That is correct, sir. The detainers were not honored at the local level in Minneapolis.
This is the number one violation. In addition, the rhetoric on the left led to over 1,000% increase in assaults on ICE officers, an increase of over 8,000 of death threats to them. All this created a perfect storm for our officers being thrown into this situation. And then Agent Bovino came into the picture, and I would argue, in fairness, that he escalated the situation by the way that was handled. Your officers are not trained to effectuate crowd control. They are trained to move in surgically, go in and remove these dangerous, violent criminals from the United States of America. I've called for de-escalation after the two deaths, the two shootings that took place. I believe that these roving patrols should be done at the border rather than in the major cities of the United States. So when the president decided to remove Agent Bovino and put in Tom Homan, who I've known for years, a consummate professional, law enforcement professional, I commended the president. And what has been done since Mr. Homan came into the job? We now have targeted law enforcement operations. He is returning to the original mission of ICE. He is working with state and locals to do the crowd control. He is getting them to honor the ICE detainers. He is also getting the body cameras put on them. And the roving patrols, in his words to me, should be done at the border, not in major cities. My question to you, Mr. Lyons, is Mr. Homan now, are his operations in Minneapolis now bringing the situation under control?
So we've seen a de-escalation in the fact that the protests, while they still go on, have subsided, and ICE has been allowed to do their targeted, intelligence-driven enforcement operation. Just the other night, local authorities arrested 54 protesters at the local level where ICE officers did not have to be engaged in that.
My final question to you, do you believe the model that Mr. Homan is now setting in Minneapolis should be a model for the nation?
Gentleman's time is
If
expired.
I could allow the witness to answer.
I understand that, but I'm holding
I'd
it
like
to
on the
5 minutes.
record an answer, Mr. Chairman.
want
Do
to
you
hear
agree
that.
that Mr. Homan's model is one for the nation?
Gentleman's time is expired.
Yes or no?
I now recognize the gentleman from California.
I wanted to hear that so bad because the implication would be we're not going to see Bovino again.
With a woman who
Dang.
works as a cashier at a grocery store, and I
Here we
told her I
go.
was coming to see you, Mr. Lyons, and she said, will you ask him, and she didn't want to give her name. She was terrified to give her name. But she said, when I get off my shift around midnight and I walk through the parking lot to my car, she said, if somebody rolls up in an unidentified van and gets out wearing all black and their face is covered and they don't have any identification and they ask me to get into the van, how do I know who they are? How does she know, Mr. Lyons? How does she know if they're an ICE agent or bad guys?
Sir, ICE agents have identifiable placards on their uniforms as well as their badges representative, but you won't see ICE agents rolling through the parking lots and just snatching someone up. ICE does intelligence-driven, targeted enforcement operations.
Well, Mr. Homeland and others have said that they target individuals based on the color of their skin and the accents that they speak, and that's why people are running through the fields and factories where they work. Director Lyons, last year you said in Phoenix at the Border Security Expo that you wanted to see a deportation process that was like, quote, Amazon Prime, but with human beings. Mr. Lyons, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a mom 3 times in the face?
None, sir, but you're also...
It's the square root of 0, that's right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, but if we're going to go down that route of my comment, I did say that comment. However, that comment was taken out. If you go back and watch the video, I did say that we need to be more efficient when it comes to removing individuals from the United States because ICE doesn't detain punitively. We detain to remove. I don't want to see people in custody. At the end of my statement was, and again, to your point, it was a industry day for AI and efficiencies, but I did say at the end of it, but we deal with human beings, so we can't be like them.
And speaking
That's
of
the
human,
key part that you're leaving out.
Well, speaking of human beings, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a nurse 10 times in the back?
None.
How many times has Amazon Prime dragged a woman out of her car by her hair and then dragged her down the street?
None.
How many ICE agents have been fired for their conduct under your leadership?
Sir, I can get you that data. I'll get that back to you.
Is it more than 1?
I'm not going to speak about personnel actions, but I'll get you that data.
Can you tell us if at least, God, I hope at least 1 person has been fired for their conduct since these operations have begun? Are you telling us you can't even say 1 person's been fired?
Sir, I'm not going to talk about personnel actions, but we will get back to you.
But 2 people have been killed so far. Is that right? A nurse named Preddy and a mom named Good. 2 people have been killed so far.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lyons, will you apologize to the family of Renee Good for being called a domestic terrorist by the president and his leadership?
No, sir.
Why not?
Sir, I welcome the opportunity to speak to the family in private, but I'm not going to comment on any active investigation.
Is she a domestic terrorist?
Sir, I'm not going to comment on the investigation. And the president and Secretary Noem are elected officials. That's their right to their comments. But as career law enforcement, we won't speak to any.
Do you agree with their comments?
Sir, I'm not going to go ahead and talk about any ongoing investigation.
Will you apologize to the family of Alex Preddy for also being called a domestic terrorist?
Sir, again, I'm not going to speak to any ongoing investigation.
Mr. Lyons, your staying to lead ICE is a decision.
Sir, I'm sorry. Could you repeat
Your
that?
staying on to lead ICE is a decision. And I've read your background. You have a decorated career. You've served in the military. You are what I would call otherwise employable. I think most people would agree this is not the only job that you can get. But since you've been on this job, women have been dragged by their hair through our streets. A 6-year-old child battling stage 4 cancer has been deported, and it turns out he was a U.S. citizen. People are running through the fields where they work. People who've gone to the streets as allies have been shot and publicly executed. It's a decision to stay on at this point. And considering your honorable service in the past and the dishonorable acts that those who have worked for you have conducted, and the disgraceful statements that the leadership above you have said, you now have a decision. Will you stand with the kids who you're supposed to protect, or will you side with the killers bringing terror to our streets? Mr. Lyons, will you resign from ICE?
No, sir, I won't.
Why not?
Because, sir, that child that you're showing right there, the men and women of ICE took care of him when his father abandoned him and ran from
Gentleman's
law enforcement.
time has expired.
You never should have gone into
Gentleman's time
custody.
has expired. I recognize the gentleman from Mississippi.
Okay,
The guest,
you guys, let me know how you
5
feel
minutes.
about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we stand on the verge of a second Democrat shutdown of the United States Department of Homeland
It should be noted, I didn't expect him to give him props as far as being decorated or accredited to do the job. I did not expect that, but I did expect the other talking points. So let me know how you feel about that, guys.
22 different agencies. Those agencies include 63,000 men and women who work for CBP, 60,000 who work for TSA, 22,000 for FEMA, 18,000 who works for USCIS, almost 50,000 civilian and military employees with the United States Coast Guard, 7,800 Secret Service employees, 2,500 CISA employees, and over 8,000 agents and analysts with the Department of Homeland Security investigation.
Whoa.
Who perform a crucial function to protect and serve this country. This second government shutdown, led by my friends on the Democrat side of the aisle, will leave our country less safe. Don't just take my word for it. Let's look at the words of the Biden administration. President Biden and Kamala Harris, Department of Homeland Security, in September of 2023, as the nation faced a potential government shutdown, they issued a fact sheet. That fact sheet is entitled The Impact of Government Shutdown on the DHS Workforce. This fact sheet says this. It says DHS workforce is comprised of extraordinary public servants who safeguard this nation. It goes on to say any lapse in federal funding would disrupt this vital work, leaving Americans less safe as a result. Those working without pay include law enforcement, conducting such acts as seizing illegal narcotics like fentanyl, combating child exploitation and child predators, identifying and arresting human trafficking, responding to natural disasters, preventing cyber attacks, and protecting U.S. government leaders. And so I ask you, gentlemen, as we are once again on the verge of a shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security, if the Democrats take us to the edge, if they refuse to sign a CR, if once again the men and women who serve under your leadership, if they are once again not paid, I ask you, how will that impact our nation? Will America be more safe, or will America be less safe if we are once again led into a government shutdown by the Democrat Party? Mr. Scott.
I believe consistency and seeing support from the leadership of on both sides of this building and the president is very important to border security. I think the rhetoric and the back and forth, the politicizing of law enforcement in general detracts from the general morale of our personnel.
Is it not important that we pay the men and women who serve under your command?
It's critically important.
And in a government shutdown, the bills don't stop, do they not? The bills continue to accrue.
Correct.
And the deployment of technology ceases in many cases, and America becomes less safe. Would you agree with that statement?
I would agree America becomes less safe.
Mr. Edlow, what about you?
Well, Congressman, as I'm sure you're aware, USCIS is a little different in that we are fee-funded. So during a shutdown, the men and women working for USCIS will continue to be paid. However, in terms of our screening and vetting enterprises, as well as everything else we do, we have formed very, very strong working relationships with the other components, and that's critical.
Keep in mind, there are Democrats who are already saying they do not want the government to shut down, but the question is, are they going to unify on this point of Homeland Security? As many of you are aware, Senator Fetterman does not want the government to shut down, but he doesn't like how Kristi Noem is running DHS.
Especially on the Homeland Security task forces and the men and women that are focused on the transnational crime and foreign terrorist organization.
Mr. Lyons, very quickly, we've had many members of this committee who have made allegations. The Democrats have once again taken the mantle of the party to defund the police and abolish ICE. Do you wish to take my last few seconds to speak about the consequences that has on the men and women that you serve?
The men and women of ICE are sworn law enforcement officers who are dedicated to do their mission to protect the United States.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. I now recognize a gentleman from California, Mr. Correa, for 5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to welcome our witnesses today. Gentlemen, wanted to start out by talking a little bit about my district, Southern California, Disneyland. Southern California is the center of manufacturing for the United States. California, biggest ag state in the union. California, also, big donor, taxpayer dollars to the United States. President Trump got elected on the promise to deport the worst of the worst. Your numbers, Mr. Lyons, less than 14% of those arrested by ICE first year, 2025, had charges or convictions of violence. 70% of those deported had not even a traffic ticket. Mr. Lyons, I think we're all patriots, but I'm trying to figure out how, this is a question to you, sir, how deporting a nanny makes our nation safer, stronger, how trying to deport the father of 3 Marines make this country stronger, how deporting the parents of a number of Marines at Camp Pendleton makes this nation stronger.
Sir, thank you for your welcome, first off. Just to address your, the numbers with the 14%, sir, that's 14% that are listed as violent criminal felonies. However, what's left out of that is the fact that what's left off that list.
Those 70% that don't have a traffic ticket and deported, how has that made our nation stronger?
Sir, if you look at what ICE has done, more than 60% of every individual that is in ICE custody has a pending or a conviction on a criminal charge. Not to count.
Sir, let me move ahead. I only have 3 minutes, and we'll talk later.
Yes,
let's talk about American citizens. Again, back home. People, young people asking me, what do I have to carry with me so I won't be deported? Is, Mr. Lyons, carrying a passport, is that enough so they won't be detained or deported in my district?
Sir, an American citizen shouldn't carry or shouldn't feel the need to carry.
Let me tell you what some of your ICE agents have done. They pulled over a gentleman in a pickup truck, showed his passport, they threw it to the side, detained him. What do we have to do to show that we're American citizens?
Sir, no American citizen falls under Title VIII. No American citizen will be arrested for being an American citizen.
But you just said to my colleague that nobody has been fired because of violations of the law for disciplinary actions, yet this is happening in my district. Mr. Lyons, we're a very boring district. We work hard, mind our own business. ICE in our streets now. People are terrorized. American citizens. Number of cases of Americans being detained, being taken in, some being held for 5 days. Sir, what do we do with those people in that situation? What do we tell them?
Sir, I don't know of any particular case that you're speaking of American citizen being.
I'm more than happy to provide you a list, sir.
100%, sir.
So let me ask you, sir, are you surveilling U.S. citizens today?
No, sir.
Whoa.
Those people protesting, practicing this First Amendment right, photos of them, data taken, they're not being placed in any kind of a database?
There is no database for protesters, sir.
One of your officers in Maine said to one of the individuals protesting, we're going to put your face in a little database. What does that mean? Do you have a little database of Americans?
No, sir, we don't.
Then what do you think your ICE agent was doing to this individual when he said those statements?
I can't speak for that individual, sir, but I can assure you there is no database that's tracking United States citizens.
That's pretty
Sir,
big.
California, we're a sanctuary state. Does that cause you a problem picking up individuals?
Yes, sir.
I have with me today some data from Sheriff Barnes, Orange County Sheriff. Very good friend. He's been here to testify numerous times. For 2025, he referred about 300 individuals for your office to pick up. 250 were picked up, 50 were never picked up. We had a long conversation saying, what is going on? If these are the worst of the worst, you've called ICE to pick them up and you didn't pick them up. Can you explain to us why you didn't pick up all these individuals that were referred to your office to pick up?
Yes, sir. That's the key part of that is the referral. We make sure that those individuals are eligible to be placed in detention and for movability. So
You
in that
never
case, it would be
even
a
looked
breach-
at
Gentlemen's
those
time's-
individuals.
gentlemen's time's
I would like to
expired.
talk to you about this issue later on, Mr. Lyons.
Gentlemen's
Thank you very
time
much.
has expired. I now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Pfluger.
So you notice Todd Lyons said no to the protester database. That's not a thing. And this is sort of what happens when we generalize all of these different talking points. And I always have to say, when I talk about protesters, I'm just generally speaking about who we see on the screen. And I think where that politician messed up is he didn't go above and beyond and use the word like agitator or legal observer. And Todd Lyons is saying, yeah, we don't have a database for protesters, implying legally protesting protected under your constitutional right. And this is where I think the generalization of everybody is ICE or everybody's Border Patrol, the media and others have, that actually creates a problem if you're actually trying to bring up a talking point. So I do think Todd Lyons was specifically talking about the protesters who are legally doing things.
Yes, sir. Has that changed since you started working for President Clinton?
No.
So I can't imagine establishing the fact that it is a crime to skip a notice to appear. We had 10 to 12 million people who entered this country illegally in the Biden administration. As a conservative estimate, there are sanctuary cities all throughout the United States who have said, we will not comply with federal laws. That's why we're here today. I can't imagine being a DHS officer, an ICE officer, and being threatened with violence, having death threats, being doxxed, having your family identified, putting that on the internet, and violently telling you that they are going to kill you because you are enforcing the laws that are on this book that were passed by both sides of the aisle in this body. Director Lyons, how many of your agents are being doxxed, threatened, or harassed?
We've had over 8,000% increase on death threats.
Whoa.
You know, I'm in the middle of working a bipartisan domestic terrorism working group with another member on this committee. There is a group called Defend 612 that has come out with tactics, techniques, and procedures in Minneapolis to do things like encourage protesters to impede law enforcement, to push civilians towards legally and physically risky confrontations, to help mobilize a counter-protest, to coordinate strategies and trainings to aid illegal immigrants to avoid detention. Are you familiar with groups like this, Defend 612?
Yes.
Yes, sir. We have multiple groups around that in all 50 states.
There's an article written by Christina Buttons, and I'd like unanimous consent to enter this into the record called Inside Minneapolis's ICE Watch Network. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter.
Without objection.
This article talks about these tactics, techniques, and procedures that put your law enforcement agents and your agents at risk. What is different about Minneapolis? What kind of coordination have you received from the local police department that we don't see any of this in Texas? We've not seen, and there have been many ICE operations that have happened in Texas, but what's different from what you've seen in Minneapolis?
Unfortunately, sir, in the beginning of the Minneapolis operation, we didn't see any cooperation at the state or the local level, whether it be from the Minneapolis Police Department or the Minnesota State Police, which led to ICE officers and agents, as well as our other federal partners, pretty much having to defend themselves from whatever impediment, riots, or protests.
Were they told by local elected officials not to cooperate?
Yes, sir.
Whoa.
Is that because they're a sanctuary city?
I'm assuming that's
in
what it is,
part-
sir, but I can't speak to the mind of those elected officials, but they were ordered not to stand down.
How did it make you feel as somebody who carries out the laws that this body has passed when you hear the mayor of Minneapolis say F ICE?
Oh, sir, I mean, from a morale standpoint, it hurts us to the fact that for decades, and I've worked since President Bush, ICE has always been in Minneapolis. We've always been in every major city and state. So it wasn't like it was a brand new thing. We've always been doing immigration enforcement. So that's demoralizing.
Commissioner Scott, are you separating families?
No.
Tell me about when you served President Obama. Has anything changed in the policy of deportation? And how many people did President Obama deport?
I don't have that number in front of me. Policies and how things are enforced do change. The laws have not changed. I believe what you're referring to is literally when someone is arrested, whether it's on immigration or whether it's a normal criminal offense, and they have children, we don't necessarily prosecute the children. But when someone's deported, if they want to take their children with them, they have that right. We do not separate them.
I hope that the other side of the aisle will read this article on Defend 612 and look at the tactics, techniques, and procedures. And if this is domestic terrorism, where we have a group that's on signal that is calling out agents and doing things to interrupt, intercede, and prevent law enforcement from carrying out the laws that this body passed, that you'll have the courage to call it domestic terrorism if it is that way. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields back, and I now recognize the gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Panadar, for 5 minutes.
And he wants to abolish ICE, so here we go.
And good morning to our witnesses.
Let's see what happens.
Commissioner Scott, did the ICU nurse, Alex Preddy, deserve to die?
I cannot comment on an ongoing investigation, sir.
Do you believe that he deserved to die? Should he be killed by your agents?
I'm not going to comment on an ongoing investigation, sir, before it's concluded and all the facts are available.
Do you agree with CBP Commander Bovino's statement that Alex Preddy was planning to massacre law enforcement agents?
I'm not going to comment on an ongoing investigation, sir.
Director Lyons, did Renee Good deserve to die?
Sir, I can't comment on ongoing investigations.
Director Lyons, do you agree with Secretary Noem and Vice President Vance's characterization of Renee Good as a domestic terrorist?
Sir, I can't speak to their comments as that they are their own, but as an ongoing investigation, I can't speak to that.
Director Lyons, what did your agents mean when he said, "You raise your voice, I erase your voice"? In the video just that we have seen, all of us have seen.
Sir, I'm not aware of that video that you have, sir. I can't comment on what that officer has said.
Does that statement, if I show you the video of that, does that statement reflect the value of your agency? And does ICE respect and adhere to the First Amendment?
Yes, sir, ICE does respect and refer to the First Amendment, but that doesn't respect, your statement that you said doesn't represent the values of the men and women of ICE.
Commissioner Scott, does CBP respect and adhere to the First and Second Amendment?
Yes, we do.
Don't you agree that Alex Preddy had every right to exercise his First and Second Amendment freedoms before being shot in the streets by one of your agents?
I believe every person in the United States has a right to their constitutional rights.
Look, I have heard and seen enough. I'm just sick and tired of your agents running around in our cities, in our streets, causing illegal activities. ICE and CBP thugs are roaming our streets, attacking our communities, using our children as bait, referring to people as bodies and numbers, targeting people for their accents and the color of their skin, and killing American citizens, all while showing zero remorse for their actions. Director Lyons and Commissioner Scott, do you think President Trump will pardon you and your boss, Kristi Noem, before he leaves office, just like he has for insurrectionists and his political allies? Do you believe President Trump will pardon you? Go ahead.
I'm not going to speak on behalf of President Trump, but I'll tell you, I signed up for this job to protect America, and I'm very proud of the service that I provide, and I don't need a pardon from anybody.
Well, you better hope so. You better hope you get been pardoned, because you will be held accountable for the absolute disregard of the law your agencies have shown over the past year. Your agencies have lost the trust of the American people, with millions taking to the streets to protect the illegal actions of your agencies. And that's why I introduced a bill in the United States Congress to abolish ICE. ICE must be abolished. I also co-sponsored a bill to impeach Secretary Kristi Noem. And I believe Kristi Noem must be impeached. And this Congress must do everything in its power to carry out oversight actions against these rogues departments, including if
Gentleman's time is expired.
So this is sort of what I'm talking about. I'm not defending what he's saying, but I'm just trying to point out he is saying he wants to abolish ICE, but was speaking to the Border Patrol, head of Border Patrol. And is this a break? Okay, this is a break. So again, I am not defending what he is saying, but I am simply just trying to show you how this could backfire when it comes to your talking points. Using Chief Bovino as an example of why things are wrong and bad, but then saying I want to abolish ICE. Chief Bovino belonging to Border Patrol, specifically calling out Border Patrol and saying, you better hope so. Can somebody please get me that clip on X? I'm going to want that for a later show. So I'm just trying to simply point out when it comes to the education process as far as political talking points, I think both sides are pretty guilty of it. Again, just generalizing protesters. I am super guilty of it, but I always try to clarify you're allowed to protest, but when you cross that line, that's when it becomes into the agitator category. Specifically here again, Representative Thandar. I want to abolish ICE, but using Border Patrol for his talking points. So I am very curious to see what's going to happen here. I'm almost positive that yesterday the Trump administration specifically actually called out Representative Thandar for what he has said, calling him not the nicest of words. I forgot exactly what it is, but it'll be in later show. Now from here, I'm going to ask you guys a question. Would you guys just want me to gather some of the best clips of what's to come, and then we can go over that in a later show, like the actual show that I have planned? Or do you guys want me just to sit here and then we can go through every single thing? Because, yeah, it's a little disappointing that the number one comment we keep getting on this show is I didn't even get a notification, and these are people who tune in every single morning to get the show that you guys subscribe for. Second thing I said. I think the best course of action is going to be I am going to review these clips, and I want to put together an organized show for you guys so we can systematically go through the wording of what they're saying and the responses, because the notifications are absolutely popping off right now, as the young kids say, as far as the talking points back and forth. So turn on your notifications. Make sure to like the video. Once this is over, because I think there's like another hour and a half left, 2 hours, I will get the clips and we will be doing an actual live show. I think that would be around 1 or 1:30-ish Eastern time. Or 2 o'clock Eastern time. So 2 o'clock Eastern time, I will be back. Now, if we have some crazy breaking news, I will obviously be going live. But there is so much to cover. Like, there's somebody in Portland who was just arrested for threatening ICE in the craziest way ever. And then we have this going on, and we have a lot of political talking points back and forth that occurred yesterday. Senate fraud hearing at 2:30. Okay. So yeah, that's what we're going to do. At 2 o'clock Eastern, make sure you guys return or listen in. I will be coming back with an actual organized show. We'll put that all together. If I do go live before that, it's simply going to be because there's so much news right now, and I don't want you guys to miss anything. It's all getting flooded together, and yeah, I don't want you to miss a thing. So, okay. Thank you guys so much again for all your support. I really appreciate all of you, and God bless you guys, and please pray for peace. We need that, and please seek Christ. Thank you guys for everything. God bless, and we'll see you all later. Hope to see you later.